Hey guys, Becky and I are so excited that you are a HUD coach, and we just want to jump on today to continue our training video series. And this week we want to deal with the subject of onboarding. Yes. And what that means is this...
Not waterboarding.
Not waterboarding. We want to waterboard people. We want to onboard them. Well, each semester that we go into small groups, there's going to be brand new leaders that have led this. It's their very first semester to lead. And what we want to do is we want to provide them with some tools to help them be a successful small group leaders.
Right, because we know the volunteers are the lifeblood of Amarillo Fellowship. Without them, advancing the mission of sharing the love and hope of Jesus would be nearly impossible.
Right, and what we do with the onboarding process, and we're trying to improve that, is it helps teach them the skills and the knowledge necessary to help them lead with confidence, and also to give them a sense of belonging within the Amarillo Fellowship community.
Right. In a way, it helps volunteers know that what they are doing is making a difference in the lives of others.
Right. And today, as we get started, we're going to take a look at the onboarding process. We want to look at three specific main objectives that we want you to have as a HUD coach, so that as you work with brand new leaders this summer, you can help get them up to speed and ready to lead. And the first one is this. We always want to do a good job at communicating expectations. In other words, when they signed up for a small group leader, well, what is it that we expect them to do? And there's a couple of things that we want them to be a part of, because one of the things that we want to do is help them develop their leadership potential. And one of the ways that we do that is through the Vision Night. 3 times a year, spring, summer, and fall, we do a small group Vision Night, which is a time for Becky and I to speak into their lives to kind of set the course for what that particular semester is about.
Right. It's a great night, and we want all of our leaders, new, old, everyone to be there, even if they've attended 10 Vision Nights. We want them to be there because it's a different expectation and vision for each semester. And then the next thing is the huddle, the small group huddle that happens the first and third Sundays in the back hallway. We want to make sure that we gather all of our leaders together and we share a quick word of encouragement to them, maybe a testimony, a scripture, announcements, so that we keep everybody going the same direction.
And it keeps them connected with other leaders, which we'll find out in just a little bit. Really helps keep them connected in leading in future semesters.
Right.
And then also we want to continually encourage them in their leadership development as they lead that small group, to help their small group be involved in outreach events. Now, there's going to be some that we plan together that we'll all be a part of, and we've done those in the past, but there may be some opportunities that come up that they can do as a small group. For instance, just this past week, we had a small group that helped one of our church members get their house ready because they spent a little bit of time in the hospital, helped get it ready for them to transition back into their own home. So there's some things that we want to do as HUD coaches to help develop their leadership as they lead in small groups, and it's being a part of this small group Vision Night, it's being a part of the huddle, and then having their groups be involved in outreach events.
Right, and another expectation we have for our small group leaders is during their group, we want them to share a scripture, we want them to pray with their group, and we want them to either play or share the video announcements.
And as you guys know, we have a wide variety of small groups. Some of them are like deep Bible studies. Others are like activities. But regardless of what they do, we want them to bring that spiritual element in of sharing a scripture and praying together. And what that does is, you guys know, is it opens the door to be able to speak life into them. And then during the week, not only do we have them do things during their group, but we have some expectations for them to do during the week.
Right, which we ask them to pray for their group members by name during the week, maybe send a scripture to them. If God puts them on their heart, maybe give them a phone call. And then we also ask them to send a text to remind them about the next meeting time.
So those are all of the expectations that we have on small group leaders. And as we have new small group leaders coming in, one of the things that we want to do as well is to help establish the culture. There's 1,000 different ways to do church, and all of them are right. But Amarillo Fellowship has its own specific DNA, and so we want to help our small group leaders tap into the DNA that God has given Amarillo Fellowship.
Right, and one of them is the question that we're continually asking or trying to answer is, number 1, does someone know me? Number 2, do I know what a win is? And number 3, does what I do matter?
Right. Even a church that's our size, it's easy for somebody to get lost in the crowd, which is why we have small group ministry. We want, when somebody walks in the door, we want somebody to know them by name.
Absolutely.
And when we break that down into groups of 10 to 15 to 20 people, they should be known by somebody. Their small group leaders should be looking for them. Hey, it's so good to see you today. Frank, man, I'm so thrilled and pumped that you're at church today. And it just helps them to understand they're not just a number on a page, but somebody knows who they are and they care about them. And then what we want to do with our small group leaders is to define what a win is. So many times we try to define a win on things that we can't control. I can't control the number of people that come to our small group, but I can control if I'm inviting people to my small group, if I'm praying for people, if I'm reminding them of the meetings. In other words, there's some things that we can do that if we do that consistently, most likely people are going to show up. And if they show up consistently, most likely they're going to grow.
Right.
And then the third one that we really want to tackle as well, and especially as hub coaches, we want to continually remind our small group leaders that what you're doing really does matter. You might not see the immediate impact, but they're always planting seeds and God is watering them. And at some point, growth is going to happen.
Right. Right. And then we also, we have a culture where leaders lead from the front.
Yeah.
We all have a funnel of influence where we are impacting those that are coming behind us, and we're either impacting them to engage or to disengage.
Right. And so we want our small group leaders to think beyond just their group, because every time they come to a celebration service on the weekend, they're literally leading.
Yes.
And so as they lean in, as they're engaged, as they're sitting up close to the front, they're amening, they're worshiping. It literally is encouraging others to lean in. And we've seen that happen time and time again. And one of the things that we want to help them understand is that they're not just there to be a thermometer, they are there to be a thermostat.
Right.
You know, the thermometer simply just reads the temperature of the room. It's warm, it's cold, it's stuffy, it's whatever.
Right.
But the thermostat is the thing that changes it. Changes the temperature of the room. So every time our small group leaders come into even the celebration service, they are literally acting like a thermostat because they're changing the spiritual temperature of the room. And as they lean in, as they engage, they're encouraging their group and others to lean in and engage as well. And I'm just telling you, the more people engage and lean in, the more they're going to receive from the Lord.
Yeah, that's good.
And because we want them to understand that as they lean in, what they're tagging into is they're tagging into what God is doing at that moment.
Right.
And God is going to give us different moments to lean into. Well, not only do we want our new leaders to understand what the expectations are, and not only do we want them to understand what the culture is, but we also want to foster some connections, both with not only just with you, but certainly with you, but with other small group leaders as well.
Right, because we understand that leaders are more likely to continue leading when they have developed a personal connection with you as their hub coach or with other small group leaders.
Right, and hopefully it's a combination of that, because they're going to develop a connection with you because you're continually speaking into their life, and we also want them to develop a relationship with other small group leaders, because what they'll find is they're probably facing some of the same issues.
Yes.
And here's the deal, as leaders grow and continue to make an impact, what we want to do as hub coaches is frequently recognize and appreciate them, because what that will do is it will deepen their connection to the small group ministry, and it'll help them understand that not only are we're giving them a platform to minister, but we're praying for them and we're seeing what God is doing through them.
We're their biggest cheerleaders.
Absolutely. And we want to appreciate them and let them know, man, we really are so thankful that God is using you in such powerful ways.
Right. Because our goal is to always set our leaders off on the right foot, equipping them with the knowledge and the skills and the support they need to do the best job possible.
Absolutely. We want every small group to be as successful as it possibly can be. And so we want, as leaders, to do everything that we can to set up our small group leaders to do a great job. Well, here are some things that you can do as we look at launching a new semester in June and July. There's some things that you can do as you begin to get assigned new leaders into your group. There's some things that you can do to help them launch well and launch effectively.
Right. So the things that we want to communicate to our leaders as we help them get started is that we're here for them. We're going to help them to lead. We're going to challenge them in their growth as well.
Right. In fact, we want you to make it really personal as you're talking to them. Say, hey, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
And I'm here to help you get started.
Yes.
I'm here for you as you lead. And
Right.
also, as a hub coach, what I'm going to do is challenge you to own your own growth.
Yeah.
Come on, somebody. We want all of our small group leaders to own their own growth, because when they're growing, when they're reading, when they're praying, when they're pressing in, God is filling up their fountain that is going to overflow onto their leaders. So some things that you're talking to them about is when they step on board, I am here to help you get started. I'm going to go through the manual with you so that you can see some things that you can do to kick your group off well. I'm going to be here for you as you lead. If you have any questions, anything you don't understand, I'm going to help you walk through that. And then I'm going to help you in your own growth pattern.
Right. Right. We help the leaders start off on the right foot with the acronym SHARE.
Right.
SHARE.
S stands for step into the game. And as you have new leaders that are coming on your team, they're already stepping into the game. But I'm telling you, some of the new leaders are going, I'm not sure I can do this. Maybe I should just stay up in the stands. Well, one of the things that we want to help them recognize is that you learn best when you're in the game.
Right.
I remember playing basketball, and I could know the plays from the sideline, but it was a whole different level
Absolutely.
when I got in the game.
Right.
Because that experience, it provides us with reality-tested development. And that's what some of our small group leaders are going to gain this particular semester, because maybe they've never led a group before. I want you to encourage them, man, you're doing a great job just by getting in the game.
Right,
and one of the things that
right.
you can communicate with them is don't hesitate, but just lead strongly, and also don't hesitate to ask for help, because
Right.
they may face some things that they're not expecting, and just communicate with them. We're not expecting you to figure it out on your own.
Right.
Just ask for some help, and we want to help navigate through those times.
Right. And the H of the SHARE is have a plan. When you're starting a small group, it does present challenges along the way.
Right.
So leaders thrive when they start with a plan.
Right, and that's why we put together the small group manual, and we went through that with you guys early in the semester, and we want you to continually point your small group leaders to that manual, because there's some great ideas about how to connect with people, about how to, every once in a while you have somebody in your group that likes to talk 45 minutes in a 50-minute group. Mm-hmm. There's some things that you can help them understand how to kind of turn that so it's more of a group shared experience. But
Right.
all of that is in the small group training manual. So part of the plan for them launching that group is to kind of go through the small group manual to help them get great ideas for icebreakers, for how to keep the momentum flowing, and all of that, and how to pray, those kind of things.
Right. Right. So, and then the A in the SHARE is ask people to join your group. A small group should really start with people you know.
Right. And that's what you want to communicate with your new small group leaders, because a lot of times people will just sit back and go, well, I'm just going to let people watch the announcements on the screen and wait for them to set up. Well, you'll get some that way, but I'm telling you, the most people that they will get in their group is by personally going up and going, hey, my group is number 37. I love you guys. I want you to be a part of my group. So start with the people that they know, and then begin to invite others
Right.
around them.
Right. It can be friends that they already hang out with, people they work with or
Yeah.
work out with, people that you share hobbies with
Yeah.
or interests, or you do service activities, or it's somebody that's even in your neighborhood.
In fact, we were talking with a small group leader, a potential group leader this morning, and one of the things that we just said is, hey, listen, we don't expect them to be a member of Amarillo Fellowship or even attend Amarillo Fellowship to be in your small group. And they're
Right.
like, wow, that's awesome.
Right.
So we want to encourage our small group leaders, as they're asking people to join their group, to think beyond. It's like in the Look Beyond What You See, the Disney movie. Look beyond what they're seeing to invite people around them as they're in the community to be a part of their small group. And then the R.
Right. The R is relate to people, because community happens when people share relationship.
Yeah. Relationships happen when people feel needed, they feel known, and they feel loved.
Right.
And that's where we do life together. That's why we have small groups, so that people are needed, they're known, and they are
Right.
loved.
And when you relate to people in that way,
Yeah.
then lives will be changed forever.
That's right. It's not about a study at that point. It's
Yes.
about, you have now touched my heart because of what God's deposited in you. You've now touched my heart. And I want to do that. I want more of that. And so
Right.
that's really how our groups begin to grow, is because of that personal, relatable connection.
Right. And then the last part of share is enjoy your connection. We want you we want our leaders to feel connected.
Right.
It's so much easier to be a small group leader when you share connection with your hub coach.
Right. And so as a hub coach, as you're thinking about your new leaders, there's a couple of questions that you can think through. As you're talking to your new leader, just ask them, how can I best support you? What do you need from me? Yeah. Are there any areas that you feel a little bit weak, maybe that I can help out with? What are you most confident in? In other words, how can I best be a support for you? And then secondly, how often would you like to connect? You know, there are some new leaders that would like to connect probably every week. And some, they're like, man, let's connect at the beginning of the semester and at the end.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you're not sharing stuff with them through text, but there are people that would like a personal connection with you, and just ask them, how often do you want to be connected? Do you want to touch base on a Sunday morning at the service? You want to go grab a coffee, whatever it is. But we want our small group leaders to enjoy a connection with you, certainly a connection with Becky and I, and then a connection with the other leaders. So really quickly, recapping, share. The first one, the S, is to step into the game, and we want to encourage them because they're doing that. We want to be their biggest cheerleaders. The H is to have a plan. We want to refer them to the small group manual. It's not all encompassing, but it'll probably answer 90% of the questions that they may have. And then as they launch their group, the A stands for ask people that you know to join your group. Don't just rely on announcements, but just walk up to somebody that you know and go, man, I love hanging out with you. I want you to be a part of our group. And then the R is relate to people, which means what?
The relationships happen when people feel needed, they feel known, and they feel loved.
Right. And that in itself, I'm just thinking about Inez, her group, and it's so strong because people there are known and they're loved and they are needed by that group.
Right.
And then the last thing is to just enjoy the connection that you have as a hub coach with your leaders, as hub coaches with Becky and I, and then in the small group ministry.
Right. So we say all of this to say this is our new onboarding. This is how we want to help you to onboard new leaders into the small group ministry.
Right. So take just a few moments to digest this. If you have any questions, certainly get with Becky and I. This is not an exhaustive plan. It's just, I think, a doable plan.
Right.
And I think we'll do a better job as hub coaches and as a small group ministry helping our new, especially our first-time leaders, to launch their groups with a little bit more confidence, and then overall give a sense of community and connection to everybody that's involved in small groups. Again, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for letting God use you, letting the Lord use you as a hub coach. You are making a difference. God is setting up just a wide base to build upon so we can continue to love on people. We can continue to point people to Jesus so that lives are continually changed.
You are much needed and you are much loved and highly valued for both Mark and I.
Absolutely. We love you guys. Don't ever hesitate to call us. We're praying for you. If there's anything we can do for you, let us know. Bless you guys.